When Bella Swan moves to the small town of Forks, she is immediately drawn to a mysterious stranger with a dark secret. But as she gets closer to revealing the truth, her life becomes more in danger in this week's movie, Twilight. Hi, I'm Mark, your host.
And I'm Anthony, your other host.
And this is Buddy Movies, the place where buddies talk about movies.
Welcome to another episode of Buddy Movies, folks. This week we're doing Twilight. Before we kick it off, let's see. We're recording this soon after Independence Day. And let me tell you, I rewatched Independence Day because it's been a tradition a couple years running that I actually watch it on Independence Day. And Laura had actually not seen the movie ever. And I watched it with her, and surprisingly, she liked it, actually. And
yay.
Man, I forgot how fun of a movie that is.
Does she normally not like movies?
I mean, sci-fi action movies are very hit or miss, I feel. And I wasn't really expecting her to like it as much, but she did, and I was pretty happy with that because it's just a fun movie, you know. Just when the president gives that speech, you know, how can you not be riled up by that speech, you know? One of the best movie speeches. There's always that list of best movie speeches, and that's near the top of the list. You got that one, you got the one in Armageddon, the president in Armageddon, you know, and
Patriot.
The Patriot.
No,
yeah,
I think it Braveheart.
Braveheart. Okay.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, there's so many good ones. Oh yeah,
Lord of the Rings. We will not. The time of men will wane, the strength of men will fail, but it is not today.
Yes.
It is not this day.
Right. Oh yeah.
I always like the line in I think it's the beginning of Return of the King, so it's the same movie. But Éomer's speech that he gives towards the very beginning where he's like, "Men, oaths you have taken, fulfill them all." You know, like it just seems like it's such an epic line of like telling these guys to basically like do what you've sworn to do, and they just do it. It's just, I don't know, it's so epic.
I love epicness. Oh yeah.
So how great was this movie?
You know, this movie was even worse than I thought it was. I was trying to give it the benefit of the doubt going in. I'm like, you know what, this movie, very debatable. I don't think so at all, actually. No way. This makes Dumb and Dumber look like an Academy Award winning, at least 5-time Academy Award winning movie, I feel. Oh, man. Twilight. Oh, Twilight.
How many awards did what's it called? Did Dumb and Dumber win?
0.
Okay, well, we won 32 awards in this film.
But you know what? I feel like this one should have gotten the Razzie Award. I think it's the award this one should have gotten.
It was nominated, but didn't win.
Yeah, no big awards though. No Academy or BAFTAs or.
It got Teen Choice Awards, man. Boom.
Boy,
it's huge.
That's because it was for all the teenage girls out there. I'm not surprised.
Hey, they knew their audience. That's a filmmaker's job, is to know their audience, who they're selling to, and they fulfilled that pretty well. They fulfilled their oath.
As long as you're a 14-year-old girl, you'll have a heyday with this movie.
That's wow! You're making my argument for me. Doing a good job.
It did gross $408.4 million worldwide on a $37 million budget.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's why they kept making these, because they were huge box office successes. I mean, they made 5 movies. I think
that's why Robert Pattinson, who's actually a legit actor, he's really good in so many other movies that he's done. He literally said that's why he did this, because after he did this, he can make whatever acting choices he wants. He can do whatever movies he wants. He doesn't have to try and make a name for himself. He made so much money from these movies that he's able to just only pick the roles that he wants to do now, which is leading him into Batman. And I'm actually excited about him being Batman the same way I am about the same way I was about Ben Affleck. Like at first, it was like no, and then it stopped, and I think about it, and it's like no, this is actually a solid choice here to have
Hmm.
a Batman. Batman being played by Robert Pattinson. I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. I'm trying to
Hey, at least you
condense.
didn't have to pay for it. I
Actually,
saved you from that.
you, yeah,
What?
yeah. You did initially. I did something very stupid today. I downloaded it. I got my login on my iPad, right? Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then I didn't quite finish it last night. I had about 45 minutes left until I completely crashed. And, being the responsible person I am, I don't like to just sleep through the rest of the movie. I was going to, give it its fair shot, right? So I decided I'd finish it today at, between my breaks at work, over lunch at work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I forgot my iPad on my way to work. So I would have to relog back in. And I knew you'd probably be busy at work, and I wasn't going to try to go through the two-step text verification thing again at work.
Mm.
So I ended up renting it for the last 45, 50 minutes of the movie.
Oh,
So
come on.
I did give Twilight my money.
That's so bad.
So they got my money. They got it.
I almost messaged you to say, hey, let's push this back a week because it's airing on Netflix starting June
It
15th.
is. That's
Or
bad
July
timing.
15th, sorry.
Yeah.
So like it's
It's
like
come
almost
literally next
the
week.
worst timing for this. However, we got solid timing on Monsters Inc. because
We
we
did.
literally premiered that the same day that they premiered a new show for Monsters Inc. that I had no idea was coming out called Monsters at
Oh,
Work. So
okay.
our timing on that was amazing, but
Nice.
didn't really turn into more views. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, back to
Yeah.
this movie. Let's go with the pro side.
The pros. Let's see. Let me
We
try
always
to
start with the
find.
pros, don't we?
Usually we do. Yes. I think.
I'm
Yeah.
pro, so
Usually.
I argue pro. You don't have to come up with the pros. I came up with all the pros
That's
for
okay
you.
because I have two sentences.
Oh, okay.
I have something. I always have something.
It
There's
it,
always
it
something I
ended.
feel. No, not even that. I feel like there's always something positive that can come out of a movie. Almost always. There's got to be
All right.
something. What did I have? I thought Kristen Stewart, for what she had to work with, she was, she did a solid job. Robert Pattinson was solid as well. I think the story itself was an interesting setup. I just thought the execution was terrible, but I thought as a story itself, it actually does have a kind of intriguing, interesting setup, and that's it.
All right. Well, yeah, I think it's funny because Kristen Stewart gets ragged on too for the role she plays, and like, oh, they're all the same, and I can see that. I can
Yeah.
agree with that, but I think for this role, it was like perfect. Like the way she acts and the way I think she literally was a perfect Bella Swan. She represented that character, and I think did justice to it. Um, so yeah, but okay, so my pros.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it really does start with the setup. The premise of it is really good because the entire movie is just one huge reversal after another. It, it's a reversal on the genre, like the horror genre. Instead of him being like it's a reversal of love stories as well. Like Edward is the beast, but doesn't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the beast kind of just is like, hey, I'm a beast. It's whatever. That's what I am. So he recognizes that he's the monster. He's the bad guy, and he doesn't want to be. So he's trying to keep her away from all this stuff. Everyone else around him seems to understand that he can't keep her away from it except for him. So they keep doing the whole genre instead of being your typical horror movie where everything's scary. The vampire is completely just given into his bloodlust and trying to eat things. He's trying to fight it. He's trying to control it. So it does end up with this interesting reversal on the vampire idea, where the vampire isn't the bad guy, even though he still feels it is. It can be an actual good guy, and not necessarily, and not like, oh, an anti-hero good guy. Like, no, he's the legit good person in a way.
Yeah.
They do talk about, things he's done in his past, which he's tortured about, and he doesn't want to be that. But, we all have a past. Um, the other thing I think it does is it really plays well on the whole teenager love story aspect, because this whole movie, it really is kind of a metaphor for what it's like to be a teenager, where, you meet someone and they aren't like falling in love. They aren't choosing to be in love. They're just kind of swept up in it. They feel like they can't control themselves. And I mean, in the movie, they can't, but that's kind of what it feels like to actually be a teenager. They feel they can't control this. They know they're dangerous for each other, and yet they still keep pushing forward. And by the end, they find that both of them are actually stronger than they originally thought they were. He finds he can, you know, be close to her without killing her, and she finds that she does have, this, um, strength to make the sacrifice instead of everyone, because everyone just kind of makes it seem like, oh, she does nothing, except for the fact that she does technically sacrifice herself for him. You know what I mean? Like, she pulls herself away so that he doesn't have to. Um, She's trying to save him and his family, except for the fact that it doesn't work out. She ends up being saved from that situation, but it's still like a strength of character thing. Um, I also like that the world is actually deeper than it seems. There's stuff going on in the background. Obviously you have the villains coming in, but even when the villains come in, they don't come in as like just straight up villains. It's a tense situation, but it shows you that there's more to this world of vampires than just the Cullens. It's not like, oh, we have this one family of vampires. So there's stuff going on elsewhere, and hey, you guys are actually making things hard for us. The one vampire, I think his name was Laurent, he's like intrigued by this because he doesn't know anything about this. He's just like, wait, this isn't how vampires live. We travel. This is bizarre. So he's kind of like curious about the way they're living. He's like, it could be different. And this is another part where it's kind of a reversal. The enemies don't just show up and start being bad guys and work together to fight the Cullens. They fracture immediately. Bad guys don't do that. That's not how it works usually in a movie, but they did. The team broke up. I also like the fact that the action wasn't the forefront of it. For once, it's not like an action movie with a love story tied in. It's more like a love story with a little bit of action in the background. You don't really focus on the action, which is something that we're missing in a lot of movies now. Instead, we focus on an internal struggle, of Edward trying to figure out if he can actually save Bella's life, if he can actually have the strength to do that. He actually ends up helped through it by a positive role model. And that's the other thing I like in this film is all the parental figures are good. You don't have yeah, her parents are divorced, but her dad's not a complete a-hole about it. Her mom's not a complete jerk about it. Her stepfather isn't a jerk. And Edward's parents are decent people, so it shows how, these children with the strength of character of their parents being raised are able to overcome their weaknesses with guidance from their parents. And finally, the main point that I feel about this movie, the last positive thing, is I honestly feel that this movie is, in my opinion, probably one of the best adaptations of book to screen ever.
You've read the book?
I've read all the books.
Okay. Oh, wow.
I've seen all the movies.
Dedication there.
I originally got into them because, this story came out. I had a cousin who's kind of like a sister to me, and she got into it. And so my parents were like, what's this all about? What do you know? It sounds terrible. Vampires, evil. I'm just like, whatever, I'll check it out. I had some friends at church who were reading them too, like my age or older than me at the time. Like I was in my 20s. I'm just like, okay, whatever. And they're like, no, they're great. So I borrowed the first one from them, read it, and then when I got done with that, I was like, this is actually a pretty intriguing story. So the second one was already out at that point. So I think I bought the second and third one online like right away just so I could keep going with the story. So yeah, I read all the books.
Wow.
Um, I mean, it's not like I'm sitting here being like, hey, everyone needs to read these books, nothing like
Yeah.
that. But as far as an adaptation, because I've seen plenty of adaptations before, from Lord of the Rings to Pride and Prejudice, comic
Yeah.
books, everything's an adaptation of something nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie, instead of trying to cram the whole story and all of its minute little details into to our film, they instead did, to me, matched emotional beats from the book. So instead of these moments where you don't get the whole every little bit of the detailed story, but you get all the major emotional beats hit on point, and this film knows what it is. It's a romance for 14-year-old girls and creepy middle-aged women, and but all the awkwardness, all the cringe, all the tense moments, they're fully felt on screen in the same way that you feel them while you're reading the book. So just how it's read on the page is how it comes through in the film. So yeah, I feel the same. It's a by those measures, to me, it's a good film because it knew what it was and it met its goals.
Yeah.
So that's my argument for Twilight as a good movie.
Yeah.
Now go ahead and kill it.
I think I feel right now the same way you were feeling when I was defending Dumb and Dumber in our previous episode. That's pretty much how I feel. That you're making this out to be this, I will agree. If you say that, it knows what it is, and it appeals to the teenage girls, and it was successfully appealed to teenage girls. I would give it that credit. So this movie has almost innumerous things wrong with it, in my opinion, and in many people's opinions. I don't think you can count the sand on the seashore of how many things are actually wrong with this movie. But I'll try to narrow it down in a very condensed fashion because we only have so much time here tonight. First off,
yeah, I'd like to get to bed soon.
Yeah. Oh, I can talk fast here. First off, the romance here between Bella and Edward is incredibly rushed. So it's love at first sight, which is fine because that does happens, love at first sight. But by the end of the movie, which we can assume takes place within a couple days to a week max, by the end of the movie, she's ready to leave her entire life behind, ditch her whole family to spend the rest of her life with a vampire, with a guy she just met a couple days ago, and just leave everybody, stop and leave everybody behind, her family, all for this boy that she barely knows anything about besides the fact that he's a vampire. So there's problem
timeline, but okay.
There's problem number one. Just think about that for a second, how that doesn't even make any bit of sense whatsoever. Granted, she's in high school, so you can think, well, high schoolers don't really think very well. They don't. But she's also, you have to think a little bit, I think, here. It just doesn't make any sense. So that's the first thing. Second of all, the fact that she's not creeped out in the slightest, that this guy readily admits to her face that he's been stalking her, watching her sleep in bed for months and months and months. And she's perfectly fine with that. She's like, yeah, that's cool, baby. That's fine. I'm not bothered by that whatsoever.
So you were talking smack about Twilight as if you got a leg to stand.
Yeah. So
sorry for the technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. The recording stopped in the middle of our recording, in the middle of Anthony's epic argument.
Rant.
So please forgive us if this seems any less epic and less as good as it usually is, because We just got thrown off and have been trying to fix this for about 10 minutes now.
Yeah.
Go ahead and finish your rant.
Okay, our episode's kind of a little out of whack, kind of like this entire movie. It's kind of fitting. Anyway, back to my point here. So the romance between in this movie is completely absurd. So, like I was saying earlier, we have Bella and Edward just straight up meet in the science class or whatever, and Bella is immediately stricken by him. It's love at first sight for her. But by the end of the movie, which is presumably a couple days, a week max, she's ready to leave
like 4 months, man.
Is it really?
Attention. Yes,
is it
is.
Months?
Well, they talk about it being March when she arrives with her dad, and then they're at prom at the end of the movie. So you're talking March, April, May, June, 4 months.
Okay, 4 months. Fine. 4 months. I'll give you 4 months
in the book,
here.
I think it was longer, but
okay.
Go for it.
They should have left it longer. 4 months. Still, even after 4 months, she's ready to leave everything behind for a guy she just met just a couple of months earlier, and leave her entire life behind, leave her family for this vampire guy who, by the way, has been stalking her for months on end prior to meeting her, has been stalking her, watching her sleep in her bed. Don't forget, this guy is 108 plus years old because he's a vampire. So we have a 108-year-old guy stalking an underage high school girl. So think about that for a second. But what makes it worse is that she's completely okay with it. This doesn't raise any red flag. No, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. As long as I'm in love with you, it's all forgiven. It's all cool, buddy. It's fine. So there's problem number one. Talk about sending a bad message to teenagers. Oof. But second point here. So she's completely fine with that. And then when she does find out, she gets to get to know him a little bit more, about his days as a vampire and what all that entails. He admits to her face that he has killed other humans before, and she completely shrugs it off. And she literally says, and I quote, "It doesn't matter." So it doesn't matter whether he's a murderer, he's a vampire, so it's fine, right? It's okay. He's killed other humans. It doesn't matter to her because she's in love with him. It's love at first sight. She's in love with him, so all else is secondary. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you're a murderer. I don't care what you've done in your life. I'm in love with you. All else can just fall by the wayside. That's basically where she's at right now. It just makes her poor judgment does not even begin to encapsulate what is going on here, folks. Okay, poor judgment is just giving her too much credit. Okay, but anyway, next point is so she leaves her family behind for this guy. She's ready to anyway, and it's all in service of this.
That's a hard concept for you.
She just completely ditches her family, and to be honest, like, she doesn't have any siblings, right? It's just her parents. Her parents are separated. Her mom is off with this guy, and she lives kind of a single parent situation with her dad. But she's just so stricken with this guy that she's just ready to ditch and just say bye. And she puts him above completely everything else in her life, just everybody, all in service to a guy she barely knows. It just doesn't make any logical sense. Humans in this movie do not act like humans, even if the actual quote-unquote humans, like vampires, nobody actually acts like an actual person. And that really takes you out of the movie. What else? The dialogue in this movie is
lacking.
Lacking? Is that a strong enough word? I'm not sure if it is, but it feels like a 10-year-old. It honestly feels like a 10-year-old could have written better dialogue. I want to hire some 10-year-old to actually write a script, because I'm pretty sure they could at least bring it to at least this movie's level, if not better.
Ooh.
It's that bad.
Strong feelings out of Anthony this week.
It is awesome. That bad. This is so poorly written. And I had high hopes that, when I was looking through this, I'm like, the book has to be better than this, right? The book has to be better. But if you're saying this is pretty much a very close adaptation of what the book is, that doesn't give me very good feelings about how good the book is. If the book is pretty much just straight up from the book, that does not bode well for the book at all. Okay. Oh man, where to next? Oh, the villain in this movie. Oh yes, the antagonist. That all important thing we're supposed to have in a movie. Well, this movie barely has one. It has this random guy named Jason who's from a different tribe of vampires. There's different tribes of vampires.
James. His name is James.
Sorry, James. My bad there. James. Yes. See, I already forgot. James is the supposedly the antagonist of this movie. So basically, whenever they meet in this field playing baseball, which is a completely, by the way, absurd scene. Vampires playing baseball. That scene itself was.
I thought you would love that scene because you're
Normally, I
such a
do
big
love.
baseball fan.
Normally, I do, but woof, woof, folks, and just woof is all I have to say to that. It is a very bad scene, very very bad scene. Another thing that really takes me out of this movie, they're supposed to move really fast, but I laugh every time I see her hopping on Edward's back and him moving his little legs really really fast. It's comical, okay, and it's not supposed to be funny, but it is because it's so poorly done. The visual effects
CGI
weren't.
is definitely weak.
The CGI is weak. The visual effects were not up to par in this movie. I've seen trailers and clips from the sequels, and they're even worse than in this movie.
About that.
And then the clips I've seen at least, it is the visual effects are not there for this movie. The technical, there's almost nothing to be said for on the technical side of this movie. So it's very laughable when they try to do a visual effect because it just looks incredibly fake. And when it comes down to it, I was going to say this is a glorified B movie, but I don't think you can throw glorified in there. This is a straight up B movie that just happened to gross almost $500 million and spawn 4 sequels. That's what this movie is. Back to the villain here, because we supposedly have a villain in this movie. So he specifically seeks out Bella. He specifically seeks her out because supposedly she has extra potent blood. Whatever that means. Edward kind of hints at it, doesn't really go into much detail. She has extra strong blood or something that they're attracted to her even more than other humans. My question was, why does this James, is he so obsessed with her when there are literally thousands of other humans? It's a small town, but still she gives the population number. There's at least several thousand people in this town that he could be going after, but instead he seeks her out specifically. Why? We don't know, because nothing in this movie is actually explained. Nothing is explained in this movie.
Actually, perfectly explained that. I guess you just missed
What was it?
They said that he was a tracker and everything he does,
right.
He does for the hunt. He likes the hunt
part
of it. So now it's like the biggest challenge of his life because he has to fight off 7 other vampires to get to his prey.
Or he could just hunt any of the other 1,000 people that are humans that are there. Why
that's
her?
Not thrilling. There's nothing good. There's nothing exciting about trying to get to them because he can get to them easily. He can overpower any of those people. So the fact that he lives for the hunt. Yeah. No, I'm just saying they spelled it out for you. That's all I'm saying.
Not buying it.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying they spelled it out for you.
I know he's a tracker. I know that, but it still doesn't make sense. The whole hunting thing, he could still hunt any human, whether it's because he likes the obstacle of her being protected by a couple vampires. Maybe that's a little thrilling for him. I guess he gets a thrill out of that, but my goodness, my God in heaven, if that is his clear motivation, are you serious? That's where we're at? Boy. Okay. All right. I got to get back on topic or else I'll never finish here. And in the end, he's just a weak villain. He dies literally they just bite off his head. They surround him and it's over in 2 seconds. Some villain, he just gets around and he gets his head bitten off and he's gone in like a matter of seconds. Like, that's what this all led to. Okay, movie over. He's dead. Fine. Okay, I guess we're moving on.
Focusing too much on the action. The real battle wasn't there. The real battle was Edward trying to decide whether
the internal struggle.
We can do it. The internal struggle. I already explained this.
Oh boy. My God. This film is plagued with thin characterizations left and right. We have paper thin characters, stereotypical characters that are less than one-dimensional, more like half-dimensional characters here that you could write out on a single line in a single blank piece of paper. Rushed character development, extremely rushed character development, lack of motivations left and right, cheesy dialogue, wooden acting, which again stems from they have nothing to work with, but very wooden acting. Taylor Lautner, especially, I think, is pretty terrible in this movie. Also, his wig is terrible. Also, I already pointed that out to you via text. And of course, the weak antagonist as well to top it all off. Oh boy, let's move on to the cinematography, shall we? Well, the color palette in this movie. Well, I see what they were going for. They want this ice cold color palette because vampires cold. So it's motivated cinematography. I think it is very stale. It is very ugly to look at. It's very depressing to look at. And I have no idea why they did it outside of the fact that this is a vampire movie. So let's coat the entire film in an ice cold color blue,
Mm-hmm.
If you do that for certain scenes, okay, that's fine. But for the entire movie, you're gonna color grade your entire movie in this cold, depressing blue color that nobody with two eyes, a single eye, wants to look at. Oh man, oh man, I couldn't take it, and the sequels I actually may like a little bit more because from the trailers I can already see this. The sequels do not do this. The sequels actually have some color to them. They have some life to them. The images have some warmth to them.
No, they just changed the color. That's all they do.
That's what it looked
in
like from the
the
trailers.
next movie, it's all like red, and then the movie after that, it's all like brown, and then the movie after that, I forget.
Yeah, I already talked about how comical it is. So with the shots with the vampire speed, Edward carrying Belle up trees and through the forest, it just looks very cartoonish.
Oh yeah,
when
it's terrible.
When it's not supposed to look cartoonish, and that all brings me to this point of this movie is
$37 million budget, man. It's a low budget.
It certainly is. No one's gonna doubt that. And that all brings me to my final point of, there is such a thing in movies where a movie can be so bad that it's actually good. But this movie, unfortunately, does not reach that level because it tries to take itself so seriously. If it hadn't tried to take itself so seriously, this may actually have been a decent movie. But because it tries its darndest to try to actually be serious, it gets in its own way and it falls flat on its face. But you know what? It'll please the 10 to 15-year-old girls. It'll please them. So have at it,
Almost $500 million, man.
Yeah, that depressing. That's depressing in itself. That's as depressing as the color.
It should be encouraging. It means we can make $500 million.
As long as we write a script that can be written by a 10-year-old, we're golden,
Hey.
Oh, man.
I love how much you hate this movie. This is what we've been looking for all season, and you
I brought the passion.
Haven't done it.
I brought the passion. I was talking about this with my coworkers today because I told them they were watching, they go through the break room, and I was in the break room finishing watching the movie on my computer, and they were like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, finishing Twilight because I have to watch it for my podcast. And so then when we went up the spotlight, I was discussing some of the movie with them, and they had very similar feeling to what I just explained to you. And so I've had all day to stew about this, and I just I let it all out there.
And stewed you have.
I really did it on this one. Boy, oh boy.
I think you cut out there when you said what happened with your coworkers. So could you tell that story again?
I just so I watched it in the break room because I was finishing it on my computer, and of course there's other people around. So some of my coworkers saw me watching it, and they're like, "What are you watching?" I said, "Oh, it's Twilight. I have to watch it for my podcast." And so then when we went back up to the catwalk spotlight, we can talk on our own headsets, and so we were discussing the movie, and so I've had all day to stew about this movie. I've had all day long, and I just let it out there.
Stewed on this. That's great.
Oh man,
I like the passion, man.
I can't believe they made 5 of these things. God, 5 of these things. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Oh, and they broke up the last one into 2 movies because one just wasn't enough. We had to break it up to 2 to make more money, right?
Oh, it was a pretty thick book. I mean, yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, definitely cash grab.
Yeah.
Every time they do that, it's a cash grab. They did it with Harry Potter. They did it with Twilight. They did it
Hunger
with
Games.
Hunger Games.
Yeah,
all of them. They all
every
do
single
that
time.
Kind of grab. The funniest thing is they each have less and less installments of their books every time they do it. Harry Potter had 7 books, 8 movies.
Yeah,
they had 4 books, 5 movies. The other one had 3 books, 4 movies.
Yeah. Oh man, I just can't with this movie, man. I just can't.
I'm
I
sorry.
It's so twisted in so many wrong ways. It sends so many bad messages. It it doesn't have any good character motivations. No
Messages,
likable
man.
characters, really. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, this movie is just like Dumb and Dumber.
no, no, not even close.
So much.
Oh,
No
at
likable
least,
characters, no reasonable motivations. The characters don't make any sense.
but they're likable. They're likable still,
No,
and
they're
they
not.
and
Most annoying
and
noise in the world.
and that's funny. That's one thing. At least it's funny, you know. At least it has some kind of actual good humor in it,
But
and doesn't have
no, I didn't laugh.
painful visual effects that hurt your eyes when you watch it. I'm gonna scratch your eyes out. Oh man. Oh, and at least the movie isn't created in this depressing color, dark blue the entire movie. Oh, I can't believe they did that. I just why are you the way you are? Oh,
I hate so
too
much
much.
about what you choose to be.
All right, I'm gonna move on to trivia because otherwise I'll just start ranting about something else about this movie.
Yeah,
So
okay, fine. Trivia.
trivia. Uh, Hen-
Who's the director?
that was, let me look it up. Catherine Hardwicke. She did the first movie. She didn't do. I think this
She didn't do any
series.
of the other ones
Yeah, this
movies.
series switched directors. I think every movie or almost every movie. I want to say.
I didn't look up the other movies, so I don't know.
Yeah. The same person may have done movies 2 and 3, but yeah, they definitely switched directors throughout the series. Um, can't imagine why. But let's see here.
Some people just don't
Henry.
like money, man.
That's really that's what this world has come to. You know, that's when you know the world is truly ending. That's when you know, folks. Okay. Henry Cavill was actually Stephanie Meyer, who wrote. You know, she's the woman who wrote the novel for this
Yes.
movie. He was her first choice to play Edward. However, by the time production was set to begin, he was 25 years old and no longer looked the part of a 17-year-old high schooler like he was supposed to be. So he was not chosen. Instead, they went with Robert Pattinson. And this film was almost actually scripted to be an R-rated project, but was later changed to get a wider audience. And you know what? I was thinking about that through the movie. I'm like, I expected this movie to, a movie that deals with vampires to be more bloody than what it actually was. And I think it actually would have benefited from being more violent. I don't say that about a lot of movies, but I think
Hmm.
this would have benefited from having a little more violence in it because it feels like they show a brief shot in the beginning of a vampire attacking of an animal, but it's so fast cut and it's blurred, so you still don't see anything, and you don't really actually see hardly any blood in this movie, to be honest. And this is a vampire movie, right? It's supposed to be blood. We don't hardly see much of anything.
Not
So,
enough
but
blood.
again, I guess if you're appealing to 12-year-old girls, you got to make cuts somewhere. Um, there is a cameo in here. Stephanie Meyer, the author, she
Yes.
is
She's at the
seen.
counter.
She's seen next to a laptop ordering a vegetarian sandwich in the diner. And at the beginning of the scene where Charlie asks Bella if she likes the boys in town. So there's your cameo, Stephanie Meyer. She makes a cameo in the movie. And some foreshadowing because the director tried to get a little artsy here. Little foreshadowing. There was a painting of a wolf that can be seen in Bella's bedroom, which foreshadows the werewolves which will be later seen in the series. I think they first appear in the second movie, or
Yeah.
second book.
The
Um,
werewolves are pretty
well,
badass hardcore. I
no,
love
are
it.
they? Are they really?
Oh, yeah.
Those werewolves.
They turn into giant wolves.
I can't imagine the visual effects on those. They were so good in this movie. I can't imagine what they did with werewolves.
Have you not looked? I mean, dude, actually, it's not bad.
If I remember, I thought they were pretty atrocious.
Really?
I'm pretty sure they were pretty atrocious. And
Really?
I hate the stupid hints in this movie that we see hints in this movie. The Taylor Lautner's character, what's his name? Jacob. that he's a werewolf. He gives little subtle hints, that he's a werewolf, and it just annoys the crap
Well,
out of
he's
me.
not a werewolf yet. He doesn't even know about him. He thinks they're just fake at this
Okay.
point in the story. It's
Okay.
actually I give props to the actor there because they were going to recast him because he's kind of a small dude. But that guy
He buffed
was
up for the
like
second movie.
he buffed up like insane for that second movie, and then he ended up actually like getting his own action movies after this because of it. Because the guy just got ripped.
Yeah, and that doesn't happen overnight. So you got to, like
No.
you said, got to give credit to.
I give him major props for that because I mean the werewolves the what was it? All the werewolf guys had to get ripped, but they didn't care about the vampires. None of them had to be in shape. They just So
yeah, and I know how much they exploit the shirtless werewolves in the second movie. I'm already well aware of that. Anytime there's a big scene coming up, somehow they gotta get their shirts off. Whether it's Kristen Stewart has a motorcycle accident or whatever, gotta get that shirt off to help her. We gotta see those abs. For those teenage girls in the audience,
they definitely
drool over. Oh man. Last thing I had was Jennifer Lawrence was considered for the role of Bella. Saved her career there. Thank God she didn't take it.
No, it might have made the movie better, honestly. Because it's not like any of these people. That's the other funny thing is no one's career was ruined by this movie.
Technically, no.
Look at everyone you have in this movie. Some of these people are like big stars now.
But the point is, like, you will always, every time you hear Kristen Stewart, anytime you hear Robert Pattinson, the first place you go will always still be Twilight, and that's an unfortunate travesty. Yeah. They will never shake that. They will never ever shake that in their careers.
I don't know if they'll never shake that.
I don't.
It takes work. It definitely takes work to shake that off.
It'll take a lot.
It could take another iconic role. That might work for Robert Pattinson playing Batman.
Mm-hmm.
That might help him shake
possible,
it.
But
what else? I'm looking forward to what was it? Harry Potter. Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh yeah.
There's talks about him possibly doing Wolverine.
Okay. Oh.
And at first I was like, no way. But then I was like, wait. And check out a couple of his other roles and check out some of the, the fan mock-ups where they draw pictures of him as Wolverine. I was like, actually, I think I can see this.
Yeah.
And it would be great because he's only like 30, which means he could play the role for the next 20 years without it, looking terrible.
And you have to remember, there's been several instances where people thought actors wouldn't be right for a role. Hugh Jackman was not projected to be a good Wolverine. People did not like when he was cast as Wolverine, and look how that turned out. Same could be said for Heath Ledger for the Joker.
Yeah.
These are time and time again. We've seen people proven wrong when actors take certain roles. So
I would love to see him as Wolverine because I people are talking about Hugh Jackman possibly coming back, and I'm just like,
no, I want him to be done with Logan. He finished it beautifully. He finished it beautifully.
He literally gave them the best X-Men movie they've had the entire 9, 10, whatever 11 film run now. Is that what they're up to?
I think it's 11 or something like that. Something crazy. Yeah.
Well, it depends on whether or not you count Deadpool and New Mutants. I guess.
I don't really count those, but yeah.
But yeah, so they've had. Yeah, so they had all those movies, and I just think it's like, I think he nailed it, and he needs to stop. Time to move on.
Yeah. Well, that's all I had for Twilight. I don't want to talk about this movie anymore. Please, I want to try to erase it from my mind if possible. Thank goodness you're editing this episode
for season 7. So. Eventually, for season 7, we're gonna have to, go back and cover all the sequels to everything we've ever talked about.
Oh, dear Lord. God help us. As God is my witness, I will quit.
That would be terrible. That would be a terrible season. First of all, it'd be ungodly long because we'd have to cover so many Marvel movies, so many superhero movies. It'd be terrible.
Not be possible.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yes. Well, folks,
I like
let
to
us
talk
know
about
what you think of this so-called movie in the comments. Let us know what you think. Um, yeah, thank you for listening to us. Next week we will be covering. I know it's got to be a better movie. We will be covering The Graduate. So that'll come out next week, July 27th.
It's on
And
HBO Max at least.
is it okay? There we go.
Yeah.
We already have it's on a streaming service. So look forward to that. And yeah, thank you so much again for watching with us and listening, and for all your support. And stay cool.
Thanks for watching this episode of Buddy Movies. If you like what you saw, click here for more episodes. And remember to like, share, and subscribe for all of our latest content. If you really like what we do, consider supporting us on patreon.com/buddymovies. Thanks for watching, and remember to stay cool.